the last while. I'm sure it will keep us busy for a good amount of time. Luckily, everyone knows Hans has been for a swim already, so that's always good.
Rob.
Rob's been for a swim.
I did. I actually went for a swim.
Brilliant. Yes, it's so good to have both of you here today. I mean, we know with everything you guys have your hands on, it must be an incredibly full schedule. So it's a privilege for the founders and investors on this call to just be able to hear what's going on in your minds at the moment. Thanks for being with us.
Lo, we wouldn't miss it for the world. You've been a fantastic friend, you've been a great friend and ally, and you're always there if we need help. And you run a fantastic business. Outsourced CFO. If I was smart enough, I'd apply for a job. But
that's very kind, Rob. Thanks so much.
Yeah, hi, Love. It's great to see you again, and I really appreciate that you are consistently doing this, for the community, gathering people. It's so important that you share ideas and you actually get energy from each other.
I appreciate that, Hans. I think I learned from the best, you two, in terms of how to create events and how to bring people together to talk about business and other important things in life. So that's it's the privilege is really ours. Thank you.
So how big is the audience today?
It's a little bit over 100 founders and investors that are live with us. And obviously the sessions are also recorded and then broadcast to probably thousands more afterwards. But yeah, we've got a little bit over 100 people here for the live session, which I think is pretty good. I think they're from 4 different continents. So that's always interesting. Obviously a big part South African and African, but yeah, we've also got a couple of people calling in from interesting places in the world. So yeah, wonderful to have you guys here.
Great, super.
Gents, yeah, so I mean, apart from catching up, I mean, you guys have been busy. My goodness, I can't I can't get my eyes off the headlines, and there's something else that's larger than life. Rob, I first want to ask you about African Gold Acquisition Corporation, which has raised something like $360 million recently. Please, can you share with our audience who will be dumbstruck by this number? Like, what have you guys been up to, and how did this come about?
Well, it's actually 414 million because we were aiming to raise 300 million. We were 6 times oversubscribed out of a sea of SPACs, an ocean of SPACs. I don't know how many are now, 400 or 500.
Stop with that and just go, what is a SPAC maybe for the audience? Because I'm not sure everyone would know that without being able to Google.
Okay, so SPAC is a special purpose acquisition company.
Yes.
They were created in America on the New York Stock Exchange about 12, 14 years ago, and have really come into their own in the last 2 years because there's so much money around, basically. And a SPAC is a listing, or it's an IPO in reverse. It's an initial public offering in reverse. So you put a team together, have an investment thesis. Ours was mining, gold. Most are tech, by the way. Ours is mining and gold. You put a thesis together, get a management team that fits the thesis, get a board together that really brings the contacts and the value. You then raise a predetermined amount of money, because that does determine what you're going to do. And then you list. So you've got everything but the company.
Yes.
You've got the listing on the New York Stock Exchange, the money in escrow, the management team, and 24 months to buy a business.
Dang, okay.
And the sponsors, people putting it together, have to put up a certain amount of money. In our case, it was $12 million, and that's gone, by the way, by the time we end the 24 months. So the risk capital is gone. There is risk to this. And if we don't come back with a business that's at least 80% of the aggregate value, in other words, we have to buy $1 billion business or above. Mm-hmm. If you don't come back with a business that 75% of the shareholders say it's a good one, they get their money back, and you've lost your sponsor promote in 12 to 24 months. So it is risky. Yes. And there are now tons of SPACs running around looking for businesses. If the market corrects, they're going to be hopefully we'll have done something. And the reason we chose gold, I'll be very quick here. Every single SPAC was focused on America and Europe, industrial, tech, consumer, blah, 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 blah. Nobody looked at Africa, and nobody looked at mining. So we're out of 400 or 500 SPACs.
And that's absolutely unique, right?
Yeah. I like that word.
It is
risky. It's risky, yeah. And it came about because I just decided, let's do a SPAC.
Brilliant.
No better reason.
Rob Hersov, ladies and gentlemen. That's amazing. Good luck. If anyone on the call has a link to a good gold mining company that would like
anywhere in the world, anywhere in the world, $1 billion or above, must be producing. Bring it to me quickly.
Rob, we'll have to send your number to a few people, because I'm sure you're just going to get calls about all those gold miners on you. Hans, over to you. That's an interesting one to follow. You and I spoke about, creating events, creating an ecosystem. You in the beginning, you've been very involved in, speaking in South Africa and back home about, the ecosystem building in Cape Town for Swedish entrepreneurs. Lots of them we've seen come over, and you've played a big role in creating a, kind of almost a bridge between Europe and Africa, from Sweden to Cape Town. We'd love to kind of, let's just hear like your thinking process around how do you build these ecosystems, and do you see deals flowing from it? Is there investment coming through? Is there people, are people changing their perspectives and their lives around this? What's been your journey with it?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a couple of observations. We took a company public yesterday, Trustpilot. We thought we were going to list it at 1 billion euros, and we came out at 1.7.
Yikes. Wow.
So that's fantastic from one perspective.
Congratulations.
The other way of viewing it, that there's just too much capital around, particularly in Europe and US and also in Asia. And then if you look at the African continent, it's still kind of, virgin countries. It's, there's more ideas and entrepreneurs and talent in Africa than it's capital.
For sure.
But in Europe and US, it's the other way around. There's too much capital. And the question is, who's going to do the work, right?
Yeah.
So if I found a company, if I put in money into a company, there's a big risk that my entrepreneur that I've just funded is going to go and recruit people for my other portfolio companies. So is the market overheated? Well, that's debatable. But, what I see in Africa is, a continent with 1.3 billion people, 60% are below 25 years old, 60%. No other continent has that demographic curve. And most of those 25-year-olds have a mobile phone or will have a mobile phone. So that cohort of 25-year-olds, the next 10 years, that generation is going to change Africa totally, by digitalizing everything that you can digitalize in Africa, right? You talk about fintech, health tech, ed tech, agriculture, e-commerce, trade enablement is going to go quickly, right? And there's going to be tons of opportunities to invest into the African ecosystem. And that's what I find so interesting. And that's what Rob and I are spending a lot of time on understanding, educating ourselves. We were in Nairobi the other week, met the IT minister at the government level. So I mean, if there's some place I would like to be, I'm not right now in Stockholm. What I would like to be is actually in Africa. And as soon as the pandemic is over, I'm going to be down there and try to do investments with great entrepreneurs.
So exciting, honestly. I mean, the continent would be honored to have you on this end. I know we've spent a bit of time in Cape Town ourselves. Looking forward to having you back on this side when the world hopefully becomes a bit more normal. It'll probably never normalize, but a bit more normal.
And just to add, if I may, it's like yin and yang having me and Hans. If I may, McKinsey kind of said Africa's time is now at the year 2000. The year 2010, McKinsey said the lions of Africa. And, private equity has been disappointing and investing has been difficult. There are 55 countries. But when it comes to technology, where there's no physical product, it's all digital, the time is right now. Because the venture community have been seeding companies now in a meaningful way, let's say the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years. There's some great VCs in Africa. There's Knife Capital, Habiac, there's, there, and further north, seeding. And I think technology in Africa is going to take off. And in 5, 6, 7, 8 years time, you're going to wish today you had got in to the tech sector in Africa, because Flutterwave, the unicorns are starting to appear. now's the time.
Rob, I love that. I mean, we also feel this electricity in the ecosystem that's heading northwards at a rapid pace. So that's really exciting to hear from you as well. And Rob just mentioned unicorns now and the tech industry. That's something you're also pretty familiar with. Rob mentioned we should maybe ask you just how many of the companies you've invested in over the years have actually reached that stage?
So officially, we are at 10. But unofficially, we have a couple of more.
Yeah.
So I mean, you know, investing in amazing entrepreneurs. The most fantastic ride we've done is actually in a company called Hopin, which is a platform for what we're doing right now. It's an online conference platform, right? So moving live, you know, conferences online. We invested in February last year at the pre-money valuation of $28 million. And they raised now, 12 months later, the third round at a valuation of 5.1 billion.
No.
So in 12 months. And you know, it's a fantastic team, stellar execution, the right product at the right time. COVID comes obviously at the perfect moment, and it just accelerates, right?
Dang.
And I think that's something I just want to follow up on. When we invested in Spotify, 2007, 6 months before iPhone were released, perfect timing. You know, when people didn't want to buy music on Apple Store and iTunes, they downloaded Spotify and started listening to music for free. Same thing with Klarna, which is a buy now, pay later player, huge in Europe. You know, they started 2005, timing was perfect. E-commerce was taking off, right? The same thing is going to happen in Africa. I think the timing is perfect for Africa, right? Go into tech now, invest into, you know, all kind of enabling technologies that are digital. And another very positive thing about digitalization is a couple of things, right? First of all, you know, there's a lot of questions in Europe when I talk to people about corruption. But a digital product is very hard to, for anyone who wants to take money out of the system, it's hard for them to do because it's a digital product. There's no warehouses, there's no products that needs to be moved, etc. Right? Yeah. Secondly, we were in Nairobi, right? You know, M-Pesa is now 80% coverage in Kenya, right? So digital money going back and forth between people is also, you know, the cash is disappearing, which is also hindering corruption, which is so devastating for any economy, right? So I think a lot of things like that is also going to help, you know, the continent actually to grow in a healthy way.
Brilliant. Yeah, I mean, that's an amazing trend that you're spotting right there. Just the inability of, you know, corruption to take hold of digital. That's fascinating. Sure.
Yeah.
Rob, over to you. So you've been building this Invest Africa network for a good couple of years now. So this is a, you know, kind of a global network of investors and, you know, multi-round entrepreneurs who are looking at investing in the continent. I'd also want to hear kind of like speaking to those individuals. Like, what is the sentiment like right now? Do the most investors, you know, back what you guys are thinking about with their money at the moment, or are they thinking about it, or are you guys just in a different, you know, in a different mind space to the average person you speak to?
Interestingly, Invest Africa is 10 years old, but it's my smallest business, and it's been the lowest return on effort. So it's been 10 years of thousands of meetings and lunches and you know, traveling, and it's not worth. It's profitable. It's not a big business, but it has. I've taken me to 35 of the 55 African countries. I've met prime ministers, presidents. I've met 85 of the top 100 wealthiest Africans, and it's been a fantastic platform for sensibly evangelizing investment in Africa. So, you know, you can't just rah. You've got to actually say to people right now, Tanzania and Zambia are not investable because they get the one crazy dude who just died and the other crazy dude still doing crazy things. So they're off the list. But, you know, Rwanda and, you know, Ethiopia and Cote d'Ivoire and Ghana are very investable. So 55 countries, you've got to be open and honest. But West Africa is the smallest of my businesses, but the spin-offs have been very powerful. So one is I have an advisory business called African Capital Investments. It's just 5 people in London, me in South Africa, and we do 4 transactions a year, $20 to $250 million of equity, $1.5 billion of transactions to date. Pick and choose, great business, and other things that have spun off. And I think most people in Africa think I'm doing good for Africa, so I'm protected by this little bubble of doing good, which is a good thing. I'm sure a lot of people want to throw me into the sea, but I'm safe for the moment. And when you look at Africa, there are 55 countries, and I think there are probably 16 countries that are investable, of which 9 I would invest in today. And I say this all the time, but then the countries do change. And on the technology front, take Ghana. Ghana is, I think, the 6th fastest growing country in the world. It's going at 10%, 7% GDP growth at the moment. But if you strip out the tech sector, and we haven't been able to do that, I think you'll see techs at 200%, off a much, off a relatively small base. And extrapolate that Nigeria, Kenya, Egypt, South Africa, the tech sector is where you need to be. Everyone's hiring. People are looking for money. It's a real growth mode. South Africa's got probably 0 growth rate, but tech is growing.
Yeah.
So
very interesting observation. Also, like cutting through just the GDP figure into what's actually really important for what you're investing in. That's
actually, is anyone on this call could do that analysis for us, please? We'll pay for it.
Right. Let's get Rob an answer. Let's get. I'm stuck on the numbers you mentioned in the previous part of our conversation, like spotting all those billion-dollar companies in the early stages. Like, that's a phenomenal skill. Like, there are very few people in the world who have that in the way that you're blessed with it. I just want to understand, for the audience's sake, like, how do you identify these companies that go from a couple of tens of millions into the billions of valuation in 12 months? That's insane. Like, how do you spot it? Like, how do you know?
Well, there's I'm going to tell you 2 things around this, right? Yeah. First of all, you have to spot the mega trend. So what we had decided we're going to follow the millennials. So the first generation that were digital. So when they were they're born like 85. They were 10 years old when window comes and the internet started to take speed, right? So when they were 20 or 19, something like that, they couldn't afford to pay for music. So we invested in a music service and so on, right?
Sure.
10 years later, they were 27 and they had money.
Yeah.
What did they do? They shop. We invested in e-commerce. Now they are 37. What do? They sit, they are middle management, or they even maybe some of them are very successful managers, CEOs, and they have a corporate budget to spend. Where do we invest? In enterprise, B2B, hobby companies. Some companies that that makes business better, right? So the next 10 years, we think from a European standpoint that the biggest change is going to be in the enterprise. Because this digital generation is now plowing through all the infrastructures in companies. So SAP and all these old systems, they're going to have a very tough time going forward. We have a company in Berlin called Personio. Again, just give you a flavor of what you can raise. His turnover is 30 million euros. He raised 125 on a valuation of 1.7.
Whoa.
So, so there's so much money. So if you follow those mega trends, if you so let's look, what are the mega trends in Africa, right? I would say everything. Just follow that 25-year-old cohort. They're going to do the same thing with Africa as the digital generation have done with Europe and US.
And the leapfrog effect, Hans, is going to be big here.
So then just to give you, so we get about 4,000 business proposals coming into us every year, 4,000. right? And we can take 2,000 of them off the table right away and say that doesn't fit, you know, wrong sector, wrong business, wrong geography. So we have 2,000 left. We look at those 2,000 a little bit closer, take away another 1,000. So we have 1,000 left. Then we meet, of them, we meet about 700.
Phew.
So we meet, so we meet about 2-3 companies per day, right? We have 3 offices, one in London, one in New York, and one in Stockholm.
Okay.
And then out of those 700, we invest in 15. So from 4,000 to 15 companies.
Wow.
What is important to remember, we miss a lot of winners.
Sure.
Well, if we say no to a company, the company doesn't need to be a bad company or a bad idea. It just doesn't fit us, timing wise, strategy wise, whatever, right? So but you know, that's how we run our business, and we've been doing that for 25 years old. So 25 years. So we've been, you know, seeing a lot of what to do and what not to do.
What's the one that got away, Hans?
Quite a few. We're not in Delivery Hero, for example, listed on the stock exchange in Frankfurt, 30 billion in market cap. We're not in Deliveroo. You know, I can go on, right? The worst mistake I ever done myself personally was that I met the Klarna team. Klarna is valued at 31 billion US today.
Yeah.
I sat in a room with these guys 2005. And they asked me personally for $50,000, 10% of the company. Wow. And I said, I don't, you know, sending out paper invoices and, you know, I think, you know, we got to go mobile. So I invested in mobile companies that said, no, thank you to those guys. Yes. So I could have sitting here and had, you know, a big chunk of those 31 billion.
Sure.
But today we are shareholders in Klarna today. So we're fine. But that's probably my biggest personal mistake.
I'm sure you don't lose too much sleep over some of the ones that you miss, given how well the ones you do catch do, right? Rob, while we have a little bit of time, I thought if the discussion goes in a way that I can actually still ask you this, you know, I'm sure most of our audience would have heard about the Cape Winelands airport that has recently been acquired. Maybe we'll only spend a minute on it because it's like a little bit of a topic, but I felt we have to ask.
Yeah, no. Listen, it's one of those things that has given an electric. I mean, I have hundreds of messages coming in today. Can we do your roofing? Can we do your security? Can we do your, you know? I'm saying, hold on, can we build the thing first? But
Robert's just bought an airport in Cape Town.
As one does. It's sort of North Durbanville. So from where you are in the CBD in Cape Town, it's 35 minutes on the end run. It is 35 minutes. The Klipjewel turn off and you're there. And it was built by the British in 1943, 4 runways. Cape Town International, 1 runway. Lanseria, 1 runway. Got 4 runways. And it was built so well that, you know, one of the runways was, you know, kind of a third of a meter under stuff. We cleared it off, perfect condition. So we actually bought it a year ago, but kept very quiet. And then once we'd signed all the rights, you know, we didn't even announce it. Actually, I mentioned it on the Alec Hogg show, and it's gone viral. People either think I'm crazy or they're fascinated. But I think big cities, growing cities need a second airport, and this is absolutely perfectly located. So I've got to give credit to Nick Ferguson, who Hans knows very well. He's my business partner. You know, he created the Biscuit Mill, the River Club. He's the genius. I just happened to mention it on air and got most of the credit, and I feel quite guilty. Nick Ferguson, he's the smart one. But we're going to build it out, and I think I have a feeling it'll be a big success.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, I mean, as a Cape Townian, we're very grateful and very excited about the future of this.
Sorry about the name change.
Yeah, that's perfect. Name changes are the topic of the day. Yeah.
But if anyone's interested, email Nick Ferguson. Okay.
Got it. Thanks. Thanks, Rob. Hans, we both have a lot of entrepreneurs who are looking to raise and a lot of investors who are actively investing in companies on the call today. So I thought I'll ask you for maybe your best piece of advice to an entrepreneur looking to raise and your best piece of advice to an investor looking to find the next unicorn, as Hans does.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing which is very important, you know, if we take Northzone, you know, 4,000 proposals coming in, when you walk into to venture, or invest the first time, you really need to know exactly what you want to do.
Mm.
If you come and say, well, I have this idea and we can do this way, we can do that way, what do you think?
Yeah.
That's never going to work, right? Because we are not business consultants. We are not, if we start to tell you what to do, we're creating our own problem, because we take the responsibility for what we've said, right? So my biggest advice to investors or to entrepreneurs when they come in, have a very good pitch deck. And a good pitch deck very quickly, needs to address what is the big problem, the opportunity.
Yeah.
How are we solving it? This is our product. This is an underserved market. This is our business model. These are the consumers to date that we have. This is our competitors. This is our financial model, and this is how we will grow. And this is the team that's going to make it happen, and this is how much money we raise. 10 points. That if you can cover those 10 points in maybe 20 slides, right, you will set. And then when it comes to the investor side, I think if you're a business angel, you need to choose strategy first. Either you invest in 2-3 companies and you really work hard with those companies to make them a success.
Yeah.
Or you invest in 20 companies and you hope that some of them are successful without you. The worst thing you can do as an investor is to invest in 5, 6, 7, 8 companies and then try to spread your so thin so you can't help anyone really doing anything good. Mm-hmm. But it's just 8 companies are too few to maybe sort out 1 or 2 winners that you need.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then everything is about people. Everything is about people, Business ideas are all over the place. Everything is about people. Sure. So if you find a team that you like and you believe in as an investor, and you think they have the talent to make it happen, go for it.
Sure.
But if you have an interesting presentation, but you feel that the team is not really chemistry-wise fit with you, stay away.
Mm-hmm. Sure, guys. Luckily, the session is being recorded and will be shared with all of the participants, because I think, in that pitch deck and in the investor advice, there's a lot of notes. I could not make notes that fast. I'm sure those notes will be made afterwards as well. Thank you for that. That's golden. Rob, just a last thing we want to ask about is just Lion's Cage. You guys have launched relatively recently. Just in terms of a platform for entrepreneurs to pitch online to a global investment community, like what are you trying to achieve with it? How's it going so far, and what can we expect from Lion's Cage?
So if I'm going to be totally honest, I've no idea.
Okay.
No. Hans and I started it.
No,
Hans and I started it during lockdown, and it's a sort of adventure experimental business. Yeah. And to their credit, Gerrit Steenkamp, Dan Sheard, Charles Jacobs get on with doing it, and Hans and I appear every Tuesday. But what it's meant to do is be a member-based community where opportunities are profiled that are interesting enough for those members as investors to potentially invest or help the company with whatever their ask is, to meet a strategic partner, to hire a CTO. We're here to help people with asks. We take no fee, and the only payment is a membership fee to cover the costs. But it's a lot of fun, and we want our members, we want more members, we like our members who are primarily investors to profile businesses they're working on, to stand up behind their companies and say, guys, come and join me on this. And we're expanding from South African companies to African companies to some international companies. Who knows, in the future, maybe we'll have 100 companies profiled a day, and Hans and I will be avatars lying by the pool, just drinking and watching our own show. That could be fun. But we love people involved, and it's an experimental company, and Dan and Gerrit are doing a super job.
Great. No, great to hear that. Thank you very much for that really cool platform. I think for a lot of entrepreneurs, it's a once in a lifetime kind of opportunity to pitch there. I think you guys are going to do really well as it gains momentum. Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's unfortunately all we have time for today, and we're just at the cap of our time slot. So just for the sake of the rest of the agenda, I'm going to say, Hans, Rob, thank you so much for your time. Amazing.
Thank you.
Keep doing what you're doing. We're big fans.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well done, though. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I'll speak to you both soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.